Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you. Black Friday, that is, on this November 28th, 2025. I got all your stories for your rush hour ride to work, or maybe you're not going to work today. Maybe you're partaking in the tradition we have here in the United States of consumerism, right? Thursdays on Thanksgiving, we give thanks for everything. And then Friday, just hours later, we try to fist fight somebody for a cheap TV at Walmart. That's the world. Not me. I won't be doing that. I'm here at the in-laws house, and I got all of my stories for you. You can tell I'm on the road because I don't have my hair products. So I get very, very fluffy after going in the family hot tub here. So pray for me, please. Well, on today's episode, we got Blake Lively. I mean, when I tell you there's a treasure trove of new information coming out, lots of unsealed documents don't make Taylor Swift look good. They are in the news. We'll be talking about that this morning. And then we also have more updates on the DC shooter. As well, we've got that sad game that's played after one of these shootings where they immediately try to make it political. It's a tragic story, but we'll get into that. All these stories and more starts right now on The Rush. And I got to tell you, look, a lot of people take today off, but not me, not your boy. I'm over here for you. I'm hungover from so much Midwest. I'm in the Midwest. I'm a New Englander. I'm a coastal elite, and yet I'm here in the Midwest eating their very good Thanksgiving food. A lot of casseroles, right? Where I come from, you slice an acorn squash, put some butter in it with some cinnamon, call it a day. But out here, there's just pray for my digestive system is all I'm trying to say. But I am mustering up the courage to share this story with you. Blake versus Justin. Taylor Swift and Hugh, they say Jackson here, but I think it's Hugh Jackman, look, even the title guy got this wrong, were present for Ryan Reynolds' blow up with Justin Baldoni. Now, this is interesting because, there was conflicting information about who was in the room, right? The room where Justin says he was berated for hours. And I'll share some of this evidence with you in a second. Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman, again, they called him Jackson. It's all right. The Hugh Jackson 5 were front row for a massive Hollywood dust-up, New Court Docs show. They were right there when Ryan Reynolds unleashed on Justin Baldoni during a heated confrontation over Blake Lively. TMZ has obtained the documents, and they spell out a tense moment inside Reynolds' New York City penthouse on April 25th, 2023, where Ryan allegedly confronted Baldoni over a comment about Blake's weight that he apparently took as fat shaming. Now, again, according to the documents, Baldoni wanted to know how much she weighed because he had a herniated disc, and there was a scene in the movie where he picks her up and whatnot. The filings say Reynolds snapped, calling Baldoni out directly, and the whole exchange turned emotional. Baldoni apologized, got visibly upset, and even broke down, all while Taylor and Jackman were present as the drama unfolded. Now, also, there's been conflicting reporting that Taylor Swift was bamboozled on her end, that she didn't know this was going to be an undressing of sorts. For what it's worth, a source close to Taylor previously told TMZ, here it is, that she had no idea this meeting was even happening, saying she simply arrived at Blake's place when Blake told her to, walked into the tail end of it, and only met Baldoni once in passing. The source also said Taylor was confused why Blake later described her as her dragon, calling the characterization weird to say about a friend. Of course, we know that to be true. Well, here is News Nation reporting on some of this new information, and then we'll get into the evidence that has been unsealed.
What are you hearing when it comes to Lively finding work in the future?
Yeah, well, I'm hearing not a lot of people want to work with her right now.
Yeah.
So there's a couple problems.
Okay.
Number one, people don't really like litigious people. All right.
In general. It's so
general.
true. Right.
She begged for the role. She gets the role. Then she manipulated it so that she would get a producer credit. She went over budget and just on clothing alone, she spent $450,000 more than was allotted because she insisted that a broke florist wore $800 Louboutins.
Now, this is interesting because in the evidence that is now coming out, she uses Taylor Swift to say, she says, well, Taylor says her fans don't know what they want until you give it to them, which isn't a terrible theory. It's like you can't live and die by your fans and give them what they want. You have to follow your creative drive and your creative vision. But does Blake Lively have that? So either way, here's several of the pieces of evidence. This was shared from Without a Crystal Ball. Of course, she's uncovered a lot of this. You can go check out her content. Justin had the conversation with Blake and Ryan regarding her weight. Justin went over over to Ryan and Blake's penthouse, and Ryan unloaded on Justin how horrible it was that Justin would ask about a woman's weight, claimed that Justin was fat-shaming Blake. Justin was completely embarrassed and apologized, and even shared some tears. Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman were also present in the apartment. The costume designer meets with Blake to go through wardrobe. He shares that wardrobe fittings are moving slowly, and he's worried about getting everything done on time. Justin and Blake worked on the script and had rehearsal. Justin and Jamie met with Blake at the production office. Blake later included this as in one of her infractions. This is when they commented, Justin makes comments about praying for Blake's father. Again, another just, when Blake wrote the article, it was like, he's weird. He says he can talk to my dead dad, like all of these things. Blake informed production that her baby was ill and that she would not be able to travel to Las Vegas. Interesting note is that Blake was seen at Taylor Swift's concert on May 13th. Alex says to Jamie in text, the other part of me is wondering if this is all a ruse, getting to her ultimately pulling out of the movie later this week when the strike escalates. So this is like they knew Blake was ready to pull out of a movie when they had the strike, and we'll share some more evidence to that in a second. So then the Vegas shoot got canceled due to Blake's child being sick. And again, I'm sure they had to pay the crew. This is like people had guaranteed, they were supposed to be there. People traveled. This delayed them for 1 week, which cost the production lots of money. And then again, and we're going to get into all of this on an episode this weekend. We're going to go through this a little deeper, but it's one thing after another. So they talk about the wardrobe. In the morning, Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively discussed production wardrobe, and Blake made some remarks about how Taylor Swift said the fans don't know what they want until you give it to them, in defense of her wardrobe choices, which were being trashed online. She paid Justin a compliment on this day, and Justin, in hearing it, teared up. This would later be weaponized against him, as Blake would insist that Justin was in her trailer sobbing about how she looks old. Again, I mean, anything you say can and will be used against you if you're Baldoni in this case, it seems. So Justin and Jamie emailed the crew saying we were wrapped. The strikes would not allow for us to complete production, and we were bleeding money. Blake's response at the time told us plainly that we can sue her to return to work, but she would not be happy. So, boy, gosh, this sounds like a set that nobody should have wanted to be on. And again, this was, she clearly didn't want to be there, but for what reason? Because was she being harassed, or was it because she didn't like their creative vision and there was some sort of control issue? I'm going to go into some of this a little bit more, probably on the afternoon episode, but there's new information coming out about this book bonanza. And this was where the whole cast got together without Sony's knowledge and without Justin Baldoni's knowledge to screen a version of the movie that they weren't allowed to screen. She just took it, ran with it, and there's going to be a lot more to talk about Book Bonanza. But coming out of this, it seems to be the moment when all of the actors decided they would no longer do any press or promotional work with Baldoni. So my question about that is, well, what the hell happened in that meeting that would have led to whatever backdoor deals, were there promises, I'll get you work, I'll get you agents representation, or was Blake lying about Justin and saying, oh, he said this, and everything that came out in the New York Times article made Baldoni look terrible. Now, when Baldoni responded, immediately, everyone changed their tune and goes, oh, well, he's got pretty practical answers to a lot of the ways she summed it up. So either way, it's interesting. It's sad. And now that a lot of this unsealed information is coming out, the sort of dots are now being connected in a way, kind of the direction people knew it was going to go. It's not like groundbreaking news, but it's interesting. The visual of Blake Lively in her penthouse, God knows, these multi-million-dollar beautiful homes, right? And to think that you got Wolverine there, Hugh Jackman, aka Hugh Jackson, and then you've got Taylor Swift, the greatest pop star in the world, the most influential person in the world, really, in the world of entertainment, at least. And to think that they were brought there, I don't know about Hugh, but Taylor claiming she was brought there for no reason other than to be some clout, some dragons on behalf of Blake. And maybe, I don't know. I mean, could you give Blake the benefit of the doubt that she didn't know that Ryan Reynolds was going to go so hard on Justin? I have no idea. Or what more likely might have been the case is, did Ryan Reynolds not, believe his wife Blake and was just being a defensive husband, sticking up for his woman? I don't think we'll ever really know. It's going to be a bunch of he said, she said. Obviously, Taylor Swift is doing everything in her might to stay out of this. I don't necessarily blame her. All right, more on this afternoon, and I'm promising you guys on Sunday, I'm going to have a lot of content for you. It's going to be a busy Sunday. Not so much on Saturday because I'll be traveling, but got a lot to get into. So I'm going to try to wrap it all up this weekend. So make sure you're subscribed because God knows, it's going to be, there's a lot here. And by the way, in other news, there's a lot with the Candace Owens story. There's just, we need to clone a couple copies of me to cover all of it. All right. Well, coming up next, very sad updates to this Thanksgiving story. There was a Washington, D.C. shooting. One National Guard member has died. 2 National Guard members were shot. And tragic news, one of the 2 who was shot by his name is Ramanullah Lakanwal near the White House on Wednesday has died, President Trump confirmed Thursday. Trump, in his first live remarks since the shooting, said, Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, highly respected, young, magnificent person. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She was only 20 years old. The second Guard member, Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24, is still in critical condition and fighting for his life. The FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office, and National Guard ID'd the shooter as 29-year-old Afghan national Lakanwal. Social media footage showed the gunman being taken into custody on a D.C. street with the 2 wounded National Guard members lying on the ground nearby. Look. It's just a terrible, terrible, sad story. Now, multiple things are true. This should have never happened. The gunman, he's going to have a lot of explaining to do with regard to, what his intentions were. He clearly ambushed these innocent National Guardsmen and women who were just doing their job. But another thing that's true is that they, quite frankly, shouldn't have been there. We shouldn't be using our National Guard on our own cities in this way. Right? They're there for, the National Guard are used for so many different things. National disasters, when there's giant unrest. But literally, these National Guardsmen were in Washington, D.C., not them specifically, but they were there like sweeping up leaves because they didn't need them to be doing anything else. And people say, how dare you desecrate them and say they didn't need to be there and make it political when it's not. Well, it inherently is political because Trump decided to send the National Guard into Los Angeles, even though that's just not what you would have done when the governor didn't request them, right? The normal protocol is the governor or the mayor would say, we need extra help, and then you file the process and you deliver it. But in this case, they're not being asked to be there. They don't really have anything to do, and they're just being away from their families. And quite tragically, being in the wrong place at the wrong time has led to this unfortunate disaster. So again, multiple things are true. It is a disgrace that this shooting happened, and also they shouldn't have been there in the first place. I don't know how else to word that. But now it's where it gets ugly. Trump asked very simple questions about the shooter. Because the shooter was there after seeking asylum, and it was approved during the Trump administration, which is a very normal thing. And after that, the reporter asks very simple questions to the president, and he responds by calling her a stupid person. Have a listen.
Suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. He went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people. You see him. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other, and that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out.
So Trump claims that they came in unvetted, which simply isn't true. Now, he did a bad thing, but they have the paper trail here. The U.S., the intelligence CIA was working with Afghanis, and this is what they do. And then in exchange, they would give them asylum for helping them out, knowing they can't go back to the country that they would have given information about, right? So it's still a tragic thing, but this type of stuff doesn't have to be weaponized.
But they go cuckoo. Something
Actually,
happens to him.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration
Because
for
they
what
let
this
him
man
in.
did?
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here.
At some point, wouldn't you just love to see one of these other reporters go like, Trump, are you effing crazy? You know, and I get why they can't, because then they would get banned and they wouldn't be allowed, you know, I understand that, but she's asking very simple pushback questions. Like we need this. Like she's kind of like a hero right now for even going there to push back on the narrative with facts. That's what good reporting is.
And you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful. And if you look, you'll see there was a law passed. It makes it almost impossible not to let them in, not to certify them, so to speak, once they come in. And they came in, and they shouldn't have come in. And frankly, the whole thing was a mess. The whole Afghanistan situation was a mess. It should have never taken place. If we're going to go out, and we would have gone out because I had everybody ready to go. We were going to go out with strength and dignity and precision, and we would have left from Bagram, and we would have kept Bagram, by the way, because of its...
All right, so he goes on and calls her a stupid person. And actually, here's the kind of sort of fact check from Aaron Parnas regarding these claims that he wasn't vetted.
We have some big news right now. The Trump administration is being caught in multiple lies regarding this D.C. suspect in the National Guard shooting. Jeanine Pirro and other officials in the Trump administration, including the president himself, keep repeating the lie that this 29-year-old suspect was never vetted when he came in from Afghanistan in 2021 under President Biden. But that's completely untrue, and Fox News' Jennifer Griffin completely debunked it. This is someone who worked directly with the United States intelligence officers, the CIA, in Kandahar in Afghanistan.
And by the way, it's still worthy of a very big investigation as to why he would do that. You know, why would an Afghani who found was seeking asylum here, who was ostensibly living a life without any other criminal issues, as far as I know, we'll have to see what comes out. Why would they do this? And I mean, quite frankly, they clearly have mental health issues. I don't know who would do something like this that doesn't have issues, but we'll have to see if there's some sort of manifesto or more information that comes out. Here we have Donald Trump responding to the question as to whether he will attend the funeral of the slain National Guardsman. His response is absolutely unhinged. Have a listen.
Stage is obviously here, but do you plan to attend Sarah's funeral?
I haven't thought about it yet, but it certainly is something I could conceive of. I love West Virginia. You know, I won West Virginia by one of the biggest margins of any president anywhere. And it's, you know, these are great people. I love the people of West Virginia. I love the people of our country. But I haven't given it any thought, but it sounds like something I could do, yeah. It's very raw.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's so raw. We're going to go into our polling numbers of West Virginia. And again, the comments don't disappoint. God, his dementia is absolutely glaring. He thinks of a state and then it goes right to, I won that state. His brain is desperately trying to make connections. It's either dementia or narcissism. I don't know which one it is, to be honest. Maybe it's a little bit of both. This is interesting, what I'm about to share with you. This is fascinating. Will we have Kristi Noem going behind bars? Maybe they'll send her to the CCOT prison again in El Salvador. I don't think that'll be the case. According to due process, I don't think we should be shipping people off, although she wouldn't have a problem with it, right? Well, we're finding out that Kristi Noem might be in hot water. A lot of people have wondered whether or not anyone in the Trump administration will pay the price for some of the illegal acts that might be going on. As we know, Trump is trying to investigate and court-martial Senator Mark Kelly, American hero and astronaut, because he, along with other folks, have said you don't have to follow unlawful orders. Well, it looks as though Kristi Noem might be in trouble, as it's turned out that she is the one who gave the final order to disobey a judge when she shipped a bunch of people unvetted off to the prison in El Salvador. Have a listen to this.
The Department of Justice has revealed that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem
made the final decision not to comply with the federal judge's order earlier this year to stop those deportation flights of alleged Venezuelan gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. According to a court filing, Noem was informed of the judge's orders to turn the flights around last March, but she decided that the detainees had already been removed from the United States so they could continue to be transferred to the notorious Seacourt prison in El Salvador.
And this is the problem, right? This is the problem, is that they think they're bigger than the justice system. They say, oh, the flight's already taken off. We can't turn the flight around. We've already left. It's like, what are you talking about? And this is the question people have asked. You know, it's less than a year into the Trump's second term, and people are saying, well, how are they getting away with all of this? Well, it's not that they are getting away with it. It's just that it's taking time to run through the system. We see this with the Department of Justice, where they'll say stuff and there'll be no signature on what they're saying. And in the congressional hearings, they're saying, who gave this order? And they'll say the FBI did, but they won't say who. And it's important that someone's signature is attached to it, because it's like we need to know who's going to be held liable in the moments where you're not obeying the law.
I hope there are people around, Todd Blanche and Mr. Bovey, Judge Bovey, that can explain to them what happened to people in the first Trump administration that thought they were above the law, that thought they could go into courts and do whatever they wanted to do. They ended up being disbarred or having, in the case of, I believe, Jenna Ellis, having their law degrees practice suspended for several years. Mm-hmm. I mean, this doesn't end well. They're dealing with a judge, Judge Boasberg, who's not some like 1960s Ninth Circuit hippie. He is one of the most respected conservative jurists in Washington, D.C.
And they're going to make claims that the judges are woke and the judges. And really, until this administration, you've never really seen anybody go after the judicial system, right? You just kind of like assume, well, you know, that the rules are the rules. Well, not anymore, apparently. And we'll have to see. I mean, they'll appeal. We'll have to see if she's charged with any crimes. Of course, in the past, there's this idea where like, oh, we don't prosecute our political enemies. But at some point, when the seas change from Republican to Democrat, when there is a majority of people that have a backbone and fight this, at some point, people like Kristi Noem are going to have a lot of questions to answer. Same with Pam Bondi and many others. Tom Homan taking the $50,000 cash on camera. Like, when are these people going to be held accountable? I'm the first one to say I will be demanding my elected leaders do just that. Hold them all accountable and restore justice and accountability to our system. So we feel like it's not, rules for me, but not for you, but we actually have accountability. Like, look, I mean, as a dad, that's the thing you want. So, kid gets in trouble, you need to let them know what they did wrong, and you need to have some sort of punishment, that meets the crime. So at some point, we need to remind folks that you have to follow the system or you pay the price. All right, that's it for me. I'll be back this afternoon. So much more to get into. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.